W. Henry Eccleston, a Brooklyn-based fine artist, brings a multitude of talents and training to his vibrant art. Owner of the I Gallery on Glenwood Road, Eccleston is a native Jamaican, raised in the rough tropical launching pad of Trenchtown, the area that nurtured dozens of world-class artists and musicians such as Bob Marley. His artistic abilities were evident from early on, and a series of mentors helped ensure that he received the proper education. He won a scholarship to Jamaican School of Art and graduated in 1971 from the island's prestigious Jamaica School of Art, now known as the Edna Manley School of the Visual and Performing Arts. He then began working for several international companies as both graphic designer and illustrator. In 1974, he migrated to New York, where he did postgraduate work at N.Y.U. and Pratt Institute. His paintings are characterized by a vivid Caribbean palette and an ability to capture a person's essence in broad, sometimes moody, impressionistic strokes. Many prominent collectors, such as former New York City Mayor David Dinkins, own an Eccleston piece, and his work has been displayed in venues from the Jamaican National Gallery to the Javits Federal Building, Manhattan Community College, the African American Museum, and his own I Gallery in Brooklyn. Eccleston's pieces have a universal appeal. He uses shapes that are both structural and organic, and an application of colors that stimulate the intellect and warm the heart. Employing a variety of media, pen and ink, pastels, acrylic, oils, silkscreens and etchings, the artist refers to his work as the Trenchtown Renaissance, flowing from a movement that existed before time. Quote, "I approach life from both sides of the spectrum. I try to use my ability to enter into a process that takes shapes, lines, colors, and composition beyond the intellectual dimensions. The Trenchtown Renaissance processed through the Caribbean experience and recaptured in a European setting, evolving into pure art." End quote. Simply put, Eccleston asserts that his purpose is nothing less than, quote, "promoting an awareness of self-reliance and human dignity through its expression in the visual arts," end quote. In addition to several scholarships in Jamaica, he's also received the Edna Manley Award for Excellence in the Arts, and is a founding member and former president of the Association of Caribbean American Artists, Inc. He's made frequent radio and television appearances and can be heard bi-weekly as co-host of the Midnight Ravers program on WBAI 99.5 FM in New York, airing alternate Fridays from 12 midnight to 3 a.m., for which he received a coveted National Golden Reel Award in 2003.
And save him, in which it doesn't happen that way, because the only salvation is going to come, it's going to come from within, between you and the Master, the inner working of things. That's the only savior and salvation for man. But it's just that we don't understand this, and we go about this earth like beggars, paupers, begging for a crumb. But that salvation comes from within you. It's not a separate entity from out there. It's for you to open yourself and to realize who you are and what you are, and realizing that you're soul and you're all that consciousness. Man may say, well, a lost soul. Soul is not lost. Soul is never lost. Man within himself is lost. Lost in the sense of not being conscious to know who he is. So therefore he's lost, because his consciousness is not open to tell him who he really is. So he's always stretching his hands out, looking for a savior, looking for someone to come and help him, to come and save him. But it doesn't work that way. It works the opposite way. This is why there's so much conflict and there's so much turmoil in this world, because of our misconception and misunderstanding in the scheme of things. Now, back to art, say the visual art, or even say music, where even a Beethoven will create maybe the Ninth Symphony and that kind of thing. He had to go within himself. And from within himself, out of the ether, he pulls those sounds, those notes, those movements. He pulled out of the ether and he puts it down on paper so that man could see or can see. Or even an artist like Van Gogh, who paints and you see the light within his painting. Or even a Rembrandt, who is a realist painter, and he paints light. When you paint that kind of thing, you're only painting the positive of what there is out in the universe. Or when you create a work of art, you actually pull something out of the ether and bring it into this physical existence. Because one may look at the physical existence and he may say, well, this is it. There is nothing else. He's seeing through limitation. As even the Bible said, with Paul, he said, you see through a clear glass darkly. Why we see darkly is because we are flesh. We are mind. And we see things in that limited dimension and the five senses. But in order to understand the true reality, we have to break out of that mode. We have to break from that limitation and get out of that box and move into the isness of things, where you become one with the universe. It's like watching the kids doing double dutch. And you see one kid stand on the side and two other kids are wheeling the rope like this, and it's going. And the one is going to jump into the circle or to do the double dutch. She time it, and she gets right in it. And when she gets right in it, she becomes one with whatever is going on. That's it. It gets no better than that. Because when you get in there and you begin to move with the scheme of things, with all the ropes are going, that's it in the true reality. You get into the scheme of things and you get in there, you become one with the isness, and you live in that. So therefore, there is no separation between you, the future, the past, and the present, but you live in the now, in the isness of things. When man removes from the body, he becomes spirit. and he lives in that same isness. And to live here in the flesh, one has to bring himself to the point in which they still live in that isness every day. You know what's going on in the physical. You're aware of what's going on in the spiritual, even in the different worlds as it is. Because one may think that this is just a physical world, and when one dies, he dies only to go into another world. But you don't have to wait until death for that to happen. You can live in the totality, in the scheme of things. If one really moves himself, willing to train himself, to move himself from just being mortal man and become one with the universe, then we wouldn't have to be destroying anything. Mankind wouldn't have to be destroying mankind, because there is more than enough for everyone. A man doesn't have to take up a gun and go shoot another man and kill him, because actually when he shot that man, he is only killing himself, because that man is very much a part of him as he is a part of that man. But the ignorance that exists within him causes him to go and violate someone else's principle and way of life. A matter of fact, we all are one unit, moving in the scheme of things. I don't want to put space and time in the scheme of things, which is bigger than just space and time. Because time and space is locked in limitation, wherein which I cannot go through this because space holds me. This is matter against matter. But when you live as one, you're not just living as a body limited to time and space, but as more or less a spirit moving through the elements of whatever there is. So you become the all. You become the totality of everything in that light. Once a man and twice a child, and everything is just for the ride, and it seems like all this action, the only solution. Say total destruction, the only solution. Yo, 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 yo. Oh, yo, 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 forever, yeah. Oh, we won't worry won't shed no tears till we found a way to cast away the fears. So no matter what rages, stages, rages, yes, stages they put me through, they'll never be blue. See, everything in life got its purpose, find its reason in every season. Forever, yeah, we'll be forever loving so much. On and on and on and on, we'll be forever loving so much. Oh, pirate, yes, they robbed I, sold I to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hands were made strong by the hands of the Almighty. We forward into this generation triumphantly. Have no fears for atomic energy, 'cause none of them cannot stop us your time. It started off for me working on for myself, framing my paintings, framing my drawings, but I end up framing a lot of work for people. I try to be as creative as I possibly can whenever I can, because whatever the client wants, that's what I supply them with. And I try to be as unique as possible in furnishing whatever they want me to do for them. That's how I end up working every day. So I end up framing for them. I am actually using my gun to put the joints together, to put the nails. It's a nail, a diamond nail, that we use to put the finishing touches on the frame itself by holding the back of the frame as tight as possible so that it may not fall out and nothing shifts within it after it's been completed. So actually it doesn't move right now, it just stays firm. I have framed so many things. I've framed the Holy Quran, I have framed different kind of books, I've framed so many different kind of things. A lady came here and her cat died, and she cut the whiskers off the cat, and she brought the whiskers in with a picture of the cat for me to frame. That's the grossest thing that I have ever framed, actually, is the whiskers of a cat. It's a pleasure working in my own gallery, doing little small things for people, because it means a lot to them. And when I take the paint to put it together, then they put it in their homes where people can come and see it, and they enjoy it for years to come. I like that kind of thing. Apart from just doing little things that they like, I also take the paint of doing my painting, my drawing, which they also take to their homes and they put in their houses, which is also an asset to me. Final stage of it is to put the finishing touches on. I'm actually closing the back now after seeing that everything has been completed, and it's time for me to close the back to make it look more professional. So this is what I do almost every day when I'm not painting. I used to paint here during the days when it was much slower. But because it got so busy that I have so much work to do, I have to be here in the gallery full time, framing for people, doing little things that they want to be done. There's no job too great and no job too small. Sometimes they come, they think they want a frame, but they only need to restore the frame they have because the frame they have is good enough. So I would encourage them, instead of getting a new frame, just to restore the other one that they have and save some money. Not that I wouldn't do well with the money myself, but you know, if I can save a customer a few bucks, I'll do whatever I can to do that for them. I'm actually cleaning off the excess glue that's on it. This is an old way of doing it. They have more modern techniques now, but I like working this way. This is what the client is looking for. So when they get this, then their dreams and their ideas would have been fulfilled. So it's just for them to hang it on their wall and to enjoy. This is an actual photograph of an artist named Randy Pottinger, and I am framing this for his collection.
Rastafari, Rastafari, Juban Bindi Bonga, Rastafari. That's why me light me fire and me big Dutch pot. Make sure that me fit me belly full. Yes, me fit me belly full. Alright, yard is alright, yard alright. So bring the coachy come, make me lick it till it done, lick it till it done. I'm only making sure that yard is alright, and yard alright, yard alright. Because we have it in the vineyard. We have it in the vineyard. Oh, that's why the yard is alright. Yard alright. Cook me and that stew with me island, me ipa, me icona. Oh, and cook it very fine. All the time, I'm making sure that yard is alright. Don't have yard alright, everything is fine. When yard is alright, yard is alright. Dedicating this one to Royal Black Manchester.
There's no job too great and no job too small.
There's nothing greater than the sounds of silence, in which you close yourself off from artificial sounds around and you hear just the natural sounds coming from just creatures around. Like the sounds of these birds, it says something. The sounds of insects and those things. The colors, the lovely colors of the different kinds of flowers that you see in this place. It gives you a particular feeling which draws you closer to nature, as though you were closer to God than anything else. These are some of the things that really inspire me. The beautiful gardens that my mother used to have, and just the nature, the work of God, how things unfold. The way flowers unfold, or a lovely rose just unfold. This is why in most of my paintings I try to create something, I'd make a difference, because nature makes a difference in everything that it does. If it's a fruit on a tree, each fruit, despite the fact that it's growing on the same tree, it has its own characteristics. Each and everything have its own characteristics, and I used to admire that. Flowers, especially this color purple here, it brings back so much memory. It sort of moves me on an inward plane, a sort of stillness. It takes me to a certain level of thinking, certain level of creation, to create and to make things new, that see things that never was, create things that has never been seen or done before, make things unique. This is what nature does for me, or just being in this environment at such a tender age. These are what happens to me, that draws me to the visual art per se. The formation of the garden is still here, tomatoes are still there, but it looks different now. A lot of flowers are still around, but the garden is long gone because nobody was here to care for them as such. This croton here bring back a lot of memories. The colors just in the leaves alone, and how nature puts it together in such a unique fashion. This croton over here is so unique and so unusual and looks so different from this one over here. I try to create in my own world what I see that nature or God have created, that everything looks different. It's the crotons, but the different looks of it. In my painting I try to create the same thing, to make my work looks totally different from each other. I try not to say even copy nature, but to create something that will bring out a uniqueness in my world, my inner world. Like dreaming things that never was and bring it into existence. The different sounds that goes with things, because color, different forms, the different designs, the linear quality, lines and shapes means a lot to me in nature as it is in the works that I do create. And this is the beginning of it to me. These flowers, my mother planted a garden all the way around the house here with different flowers, different colors that sets off certain inspiration. And when they are all in bloom at different times, they come in, they look so unique. Down here was where my dad used to cultivate a lot of bananas, and they plant the banana down into the valley here, and they grow up, and he actually had to cut the banana to take them out of the down here, to bring them up to actually sell them at the depot that they export them abroad. this path here when I was a child, maybe say the age of 7, when my siblings and I used to come here in the morning to get fresh spring water for drinking. Then I used to come here and get inspirations from the plant life, the flowers, the different kind of flowers that used to grow here, especially the Spanish needles and the purple flowers that used to be along here. I can remember, I can see them in my mind's eye right now. This place meant so much to me, till even now I can feel the spiritual vibrations coming through. And to really solidify everything, when I came here it was only one frog, and now I'm joined by about 5 of them, just coming up, looking, greeting me, as though what I'm saying, they understand the language that's being spoken. Because all things are interconnected, and I can feel that kind of vibration. The sounds of silence mean so much, because when you stop talking and just listen to the sound of nature, and even the water running underneath the cave, it's as though nature is speaking to you. It's like God is actually talking, communicating, saying something. And all these sounds used to mean so much to me, and I would have taken them and stored them in my memory bank. So when I'm working, when I'm painting, sometimes these are some of the sounds of silence that comes to me, and these sounds of nature creeping through. So when I paint, I look inward, as I would say beyond the intellectual dimension, to capture certain essence and certain moods and tones in my work.
about it, it just keep on flowing. And it's like creation. Creation is complete. There's nothing new under the sun, as Solomon says. Because all that is in existence now, nothing more is being created. It's there. Creation is finished in this universe. And all ideas, concepts, and whatever it may be, is just something that one pulls out of the heater. So inside your mind, or beyond the mind region, all this exists, but you have to be at the level of consciousness in which you can take up a pen, a pencil, a brush, and just open yourself to the universe and let all that is in the heater just flows through you so that you can capture and interpret some of it on canvas or on paper or whatever medium you're using. So when a man creates a piece of art, or when a man begins to create and to do a work of art, it's not something well then that he sets out to say, well, I'm going to create this. He opens himself to the universe through a level of consciousness, and that just opens himself so that the consciousness can flow within it. Putting the body through a motion to create is like an excruciating feeling or mode that you are going through. Sometimes it can make you mad or go wild, but it has to be controlled in the sense of that vibration that's coming through you. Don't run wild with it all over the place. Just be still and let it flow through you. And whatever vibration that's coming through you, learn to contain it and let it flow through whatever you're doing. If it comes in the form of poetry, then write. If it comes in the form of dance, then you create. If it comes in the form of the visual art, then you allow yourself to go into that mode in which you can let that energy that wants to flow through you, maybe through the brush or through whatever you're using. Just allow yourself to let it go through, and you work it until that substance comes right out into a conceptual form that means something to you or to the world. To me, that's art. That's real art. And another thing again, the past, the present, and the future, it's only the mind. There is no separation from the past, the present, and the future. Because the past, the present, and the future meet in the now. And man must learn to live in the now. Because when you are living in the now, there is no different heaven. There is no different hell. There is no different anything. But you are living. It's just liberty. It's just liberty. Because man would think that God is separate from him, a separate entity that he's looking for. God is not a separate entity that man can look outside for or look up in the skies for. Because God does not exist there. God is within you. In the Christian Bible it mentions it. It says the kingdom of heaven. Jesus mentioned this. He said the kingdom of heaven is within you. Not something that you're looking for externally or man can give you. You cannot go sit in an edifice, a congregation, a church, hoping that you'll find God there. God is not there. God was always with you. every square inch of this universe, God is. But few knows it because his level of consciousness is not that open or high enough so that he can realize and understand what's happening in the scheme of things. Because where we are right now, heaven is not somewhere else. Heaven exists right there, but the only reason why one may not understand it or see it or being in heaven at the same particular time is because of his level of consciousness. He's of a low level of consciousness, so he will always walk as man. But there is a difference between, say, the Creator God and us. We as man are trapped in a body because we are here in a schoolroom where we have to learn and to develop physically. A lot of folks may not like to hear this, but it takes some people several lifetimes, thousands of years, before they can come to a certain level of consciousness. While there are others, it comes in an easier way, wherein which level of consciousness just kicks right in and he knows that he exists. For instance, a man does not have to go to California to understand what's happening in California, or go to Jamaica to understand what's happening in Jamaica. You can be the same place and see 360 degrees. You're seeing the whole because you can become omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, and not moving from one place to another. That's what man's supposed to be. But man failed to understand this. Man failed to see that. And he is looking outside himself for a separate entity to come and save